Wait, don't scroll past this, because the next 15 seconds could literally cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's a tiny Roosevelt dime that looks completely normal, no fancy design, no obvious difference, and people spend it every single day. But a rare version of this exact coin has sold for over $500,000. That means one small detail, so small most people never notice it, can turn 10 cents into life-changing money. So before you ignore another dime, you need to see this. Let's moving on. First up, if you've got a 1965 Roosevelt dime sitting in your pocket change, stop everything you're doing because you might be holding one of the most surprising modern coin treasures that collectors are chasing right now, especially the rare no mint mark examples that in top condition or with special characteristics have stunned the auction world. The 1965 Roosevelt dime looks ordinary at first glance, but this is exactly the kind of coin that fools people every single day. It carries no mint mark, and that alone confuses a lot of beginners. But there's a very important reason for that. In 1965, the United States Mint removed mint marks entirely from dimes as part of a transition period in production, meaning coins from this year were struck without indicating whether they came from Philadelphia or Denver. That small detail is actually one of the first things collectors check when evaluating this coin. Now, here's where things start getting interesting. The 1965 dime is part of the early clad coinage era, meaning it is made from a copper-nickel outer layer instead of the earlier silver composition. Most of these dimes entered circulation in massive quantities, so in normal worn condition, they are only worth face value. But in the collector world, condition changes everything. And the 1965 dime is one of those coins where grade can completely transform its value. When you look closely at high-grade examples, especially those that appear uncirculated with strong strike quality, sharp details in Roosevelt's hair, and clean torch bands on the reverse, you start to see why collectors take this coin seriously. Even small differences in strike quality can push a coin from pocket change territory into serious auction competition. One of the biggest value drivers for this coin is not just condition, but also special minting anomalies. Some 1965 Roosevelt dimes have been discovered with rare characteristics such as off-metal strikes, unusual planche errors, or exceptional special mint set finishes that resemble proof-like surfaces. These are not your average coins pulled from circulation. These are pieces that stand out under magnification and often get certified by major grading companies because of their unusual production traits. Collectors also pay close attention to full torch details on the reverse of the coin. When the horizontal lines on the torch are completely separated and sharp, that indicates a strong strike. And strong strike examples are far less common than people think. Combine that with a flawless surface, minimal marks, and strong eye appeal, and you suddenly have a coin that moves into the high-end collector market. Another major factor is certification. Raw coins, meaning coins that are not graded by professional services, often get overlooked or undervalued. But once a 1965 Roosevelt dime is graded at a high level, especially an MS-67, MS-68, or special mint set designation with strong cameo contrast, the demand increases dramatically. Serious collectors and registry set builders are constantly searching for top-tier examples, and competition for those coins can drive prices far beyond expectations. It is also important to understand that most 1965 dimes were heavily circulated, meaning they picked up scratches, wear, and contact marks almost immediately after release. That makes truly pristine examples extremely scarce in comparison to the total mintage. So even though the coin itself is not old in historical terms, condition rarity plays a huge role in its desirability. Now when it comes to value, this is where the 1965 Roosevelt dime becomes truly exciting. In average circulated condition, it remains at face value, just 10 cents. But in uncirculated condition, especially with strong eye appeal and sharp strike quality, it can reach anywhere from a few dollars to significantly higher levels depending on grade. However, in elite certified condition or with rare minting anomalies such as special mint set quality strikes, ultra-high-grade preservation, or rare error characteristics, auction records have shown that this coin can climb dramatically, with standout examples reaching as high as $25,600 in. competitive bidding environments where advanced collectors compete for registry quality pieces or unique mint errors. That is what makes this coin so unpredictable and so exciting, because most people overlook it completely until it appears in a high-grade holder or shows unusual striking features that set it apart from millions of others. And that is exactly why collectors stay alert for this date. It is not about the face value, and it is not about it being a silver coin, because it is not. It is about condition, strike quality, certification level, and rare production quirks that turn an ordinary dime into a serious auction-level collectible that can shock even experienced numismatists. So if you ever come across a 1965 Roosevelt dime, especially one that looks unusually sharp, unusually clean, or has that frosted, high-quality mint finish, do not dismiss it. It could be one of those sleeper coins that looks simple at first glance, but carries real collector demand behind it, and in the right condition, it can turn into a five-figure surprise that most people never see coming. And just when you think a modern Roosevelt dime like this is impressive, wait until you see the next coin, because it's even more unexpected, even more sought after, and the value behind it will completely change the way you look at everyday pocket change. Next up, if you've got a 1967 Roosevelt dime in your hands right now, especially one with no mint mark, you might want to take a second look, because this is one of those coins that has quietly built a serious reputation among collectors, and in the right condition, it has reached astonishing levels, even though most people still treat it like regular pocket change. The first thing that confuses many people is the missing mint mark. Normally, US coins will show a small letter indicating where they were produced, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But in 1967, something very specific was happening in US coin production. The mint had removed mint marks completely for a short period during the mid-1960s, which means every 1967 Roosevelt dime was struck without any mint mark at all. So if you're holding one and wondering if something is missing or wrong, it's actually completely normal for that year. And that detail alone is one of the biggest reasons collectors get interested in this coin. Now here is where the story starts to shift from ordinary to very collectible. The 1967 dime was not produced for general circulation in the same way earlier coins were. Instead, it was part of what is known as the Special Mint Set program. These coins were struck with more care than regular circulation coins, but they were not foolproof coins either. They sit in a unique middle category, and that in-between status is exactly what makes them so interesting to serious collectors today. When you look closely at a high-quality 1967 dime, you may notice a sharper strike than normal coins from pocket change. Roosevelt's profile can appear more defined, the torch on the reverse can show stronger detail, and in some cases you may even see a semi-frosted or mirror-like finish, depending on how the coin was struck and preserved. These subtle details are extremely important because they separate average examples from high-end collectible pieces. Condition is everything with this coin. Most 1967 dimes you find today have tiny contact marks, dull surfaces, or light wear from handling over decades. But a small number survived in near-perfect condition, often stored directly from special mint sets without ever being touched or circulated. These top-tier examples are what drive serious collector demand. Even a single grade difference on a professional grading scale can mean the difference between a common coin and a major auction piece. Collectors also pay close attention to eye appeal, which is how attractive the coin looks overall. Two coins can have the same grade on paper, but the one with stronger luster, cleaner fields, and better contrast between the devices and background will always bring stronger money. The 1967 dime is especially sensitive to this because of how its surfaces were produced. Some have a soft satin finish, while others show stronger reflective qualities, and those visual differences matter a lot in the marketplace. Another thing that makes this coin important is the growing demand for high-grade modern US coinage. Many collectors today are not just focused on old silver coins, but also on premium quality examples from transitional years like the late 1960s. The 1967 dime sits right in that sweet spot where it is modern enough to still be affordable in average condition, but rare enough in top condition to attract competitive bidding when the right example appears. Now, when it comes to value, This is where the 1967 Roosevelt dime truly changes from a simple coin into a serious collector target. In average circulated condition, it usually has no premium and remains worth only face value. Even in typical uncirculated condition, it might only bring a few dollars depending on appearance. But once you enter the elite grading levels, especially coins that have been certified in ultra-high mint state condition with exceptional eye appeal or rare special mint set qualities, the market becomes completely different. The strongest known examples have reached auction levels up to around $14,400, driven by advanced collectors competing for top registry quality coins and near-perfect preserved surfaces. That kind of price is not for ordinary examples, but for coins that stand out as nearly flawless representations of their issue, often with exceptional strike quality and outstanding preservation that makes them extremely difficult to upgrade. This is exactly why experienced collectors still search through 1967 dimes carefully. Most are common, but a few are quietly exceptional. And in this hobby, it only takes one exceptional coin to completely change the outcome of a collection. What looks like a simple dime can actually be a high-end collectible hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right level of grading, attention, and market demand to unlock its true potential. And just when you think a 1967 Roosevelt dime is surprising in its own right, the next coin is going to push things even further. Because it comes with even more scarcity, even stronger collector demand, and a value level that will make this one look almost ordinary in comparison. Next up, if you have a 1972 Roosevelt dime sitting in your change jar, don't rush past it, because this is one of those coins that looks completely normal on the surface, but can turn into a serious four-figure surprise when the details are just right, with rare high-grade or variety examples reaching around $5,400 in today's collector market. At first glance, nothing about the 1972 dime seems unusual. It's small, it's modern, and it carries no mint mark, which is actually normal for coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint during this era. So a lot of people assume it has no special meaning at all. But that assumption is exactly what causes most of these valuable pieces to be overlooked every single day. The real importance of the 1972 Roosevelt dime is not in the date alone, but in what can happen during the striking process. This coin is part of a series where small production variations, especially in the early 1970s, created some of the most famous and widely searched modern U.S. coin errors. And unlike older silver coins that get attention just because of age, this dime earns its reputation from very specific minting anomalies and condition extremes. One of the most important things collectors look for in this coin is the possibility of a double die obverse. This is where parts of the design, especially the date and lettering, appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. On a 1972 dime, that doubling can be subtle or dramatic depending on the strength of the error, and when it is strong, it becomes highly desirable. Even a small visible doubling in the lettering or Roosevelt's profile can immediately separate a common coin from a valuable variety. But errors are only part of the story. Condition plays an equally powerful role here. Most 1972 dimes that you find in circulation today show wear, contact marks, and dull surfaces from decades of handling. That's expected. But a very small percentage survived in exceptional uncirculated condition, often stored away before they ever entered heavy circulation. These coins can show strong luster, sharp strike detail, and minimal imperfections, which is exactly what grading companies look for when assigning high mint state grades. When you examine a top quality example, the details start to matter in a big way. Roosevelt's hairlines, the torch on the reverse, and the horizontal bands all become critical markers of strike quality. A fully struck coin with clean, defined features stands out immediately, especially when compared to the weak or average strikes that dominate most of the population. Another factor that adds interest to the 1972 dime is how widely collected modern error coins have become. Unlike older rarities that are already locked away in collections, modern varieties like this still appear in circulation finds, coin rolls, and old accumulations. That keeps collector demand active and competitive because the possibility of finding one still exists in everyday change, even if the odds are low. Now, when it comes to value, This is where the 1972 Roosevelt dime transforms from a simple pocket coin into something truly exciting. In normal circulated condition, it remains at face value, with no premium at all. Even in typical uncirculated condition, it might only be worth a few dollars. But when you reach the top end of the market, everything changes. High-grade certified examples with strong eye appeal, combined with rare and clearly visible varieties such as a strong double die obverse or exceptional mint state preservation, can command serious attention from collectors. In the strongest documented cases in competitive auction environments, these top-tier 1972 dimes have reached around $5,400, driven by specialists who actively search for standout era coins and registry-quality examples with sharp detail and exceptional preservation. That level of value is not for average pieces, but for coins that clearly separate themselves through rarity, eye appeal, and verified variety status under professional grading. What makes this coin especially interesting is how easily it can be dismissed. It does not look old, it does not look rare, and it does not have silver content to catch attention. But the real value in this coin is hidden in microscopic details and condition factors that only reveal themselves under close inspection or magnification. That is why collectors continue to study it carefully, because coins like this prove that value in numismatics is not always about age, but about what happened in the moment it was made. And just when you think the 1972 Roosevelt dime is the peak of modern coin surprises, the next coin takes things even further, with an even more dramatic rarity factor, stronger collector competition, and a value level that pushes the limits of what most people expect from a simple dime. Next up, if you have a 1973 Roosevelt dime with a D mint mark, don't let the small size fool you for even a second, because this is one of those modern coins that most people overlook completely, yet in the right condition or with the right minting characteristics, making it a serious target for collectors who understand what to look for. The first thing to understand is what that little d actually means. It tells you the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which was one of the primary production facilities for U.S. coinage. Most 1973 D-dimes were produced in extremely large numbers and entered circulation immediately, meaning the vast majority of them today are common and heavily worn. That's exactly why so many people assume this coin has no special value. But the truth is, the real value is never in the average coin. It is in the rare survivors that escaped normal circulation or show unusual striking characteristics. When you look closely at a typical 1973 D Roosevelt dime, you'll see a standard copper nickel-clad composition, with Roosevelt's profile on the front and the torch design on the back. Nothing about it seems rare at first glance. But collectors don't judge this coin by first impressions. They judge it by strike quality, surface preservation, and subtle anomalies that separate an ordinary example from a premium collectible. One of the most important factors in this coin's value is the quality of the strike from the Denver Mint during this period. In the early 1970s, some Roosevelt dimes were struck with inconsistent pressure, which means certain areas of the design can appear weak or incomplete on many coins. However, a small number of 1973 D-dimes were struck with full, sharp detail, especially in Roosevelt's hair and the torch bands on the reverse. These strong strike examples are much harder to find than most people realize, and collectors are willing to pay attention to them. Another key factor is the condition of the surface. Most 1973 D-dimes show contact marks from circulation, even if they appear uncirculated at first glance. But coins that were preserved early, often pulled directly from mint sets or carefully stored rolls, can retain strong luster and original mint shine. When that original surface is intact and combined with a sharp strike, the coin immediately moves into a higher collector category. There is also the possibility of minting anomalies, which is where this coin becomes even more interesting. While not every 1973 D-dime has errors, certain examples have been found with misaligned strikes, slight doubling in design elements, or planchet issues that make them stand out under close inspection. Even minor deviations from standard production can increase collector demand significantly, especially when paired with high-grade preservation. Collectors also pay close attention to full torch detail on the reverse. The torch on Roosevelt dimes is one of the most important design elements used for grading strike quality. When the horizontal bands are fully separated and clearly defined, it signals a strong strike, and strong strike coins consistently bring higher premiums in the marketplace. Many 1973 D dimes fail this test, which is why fully struck examples are more desirable than people expect. The grading factor cannot be ignored either. A coin that looks clean to the naked eye might still grade lower under professional examination if it has tiny marks or imperfect surfaces. But once a 1973 D dime reaches higher mint state grades, especially with strong eye appeal, it becomes part of a much smaller population of collectible examples. That scarcity in top condition is what drives serious collector interest. Now, when it comes to value, this is where the 1973 Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark becomes truly exciting. In circulated condition, it is still worth only face value, with no premium attached. Even in average uncirculated condition, it may only bring a small amount over 10 cents. But in the upper tier of the market, everything changes dramatically. High-grade certified examples with exceptional luster, strong strike definition, and clean surfaces can command significant premiums. When combined with rare minting characteristics or standout preservation, the strongest examples have achieved auction results as high as around $6,500, driven by collectors competing for top-quality registry coins and visually superior specimens that represent the very best-known examples of the issue. These are not everyday coins, and they are not easy to find, but they prove that even a modern dime can reach serious value when condition and rarity align perfectly. What makes this coin especially interesting is how many of them still exist in the world, yet how few exist in truly exceptional condition. That gap between quantity and quality is what creates opportunity for collectors. Most people will walk past a 1973 D dime without a second thought, but experienced collectors know that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins can hide extraordinary potential. And just when you think a 1973 D Roosevelt dime is already impressive, the next coin takes the excitement even higher, with an even more surprising rarity profile, stronger collector demand, and a value that pushes this series into an entirely new level of competition. Next up, if you think all Roosevelt dimes are just small change with no real excitement behind them, the 1975 Roosevelt dime with no S mint mark is the exact coin that completely destroys that idea. Because this is one of the rarest modern U.S. minting mistakes ever discovered, and in top condition it has brought staggering auction results ranging from about six figures, making it one of the most valuable dimes in American coin collecting history. At first glance, this coin looks almost too normal to be special. It has Roosevelt on the front, the torch on the back, and a simple 1975 date that doesn't seem to stand out in any way. But the real shock comes when you look at where the mint mark should be. In most cases, a 1975 proof Roosevelt dime struck at the San Francisco Mint should carry a small S mint mark, clearly showing its origin as a proof coin made specifically for collectors. But this particular variety is missing that S, and that small missing detail is exactly what turned an ordinary proof coin into one of the rarest modern errors in existence. This was not a circulation coin mistake that slipped into pocket change. This was a proof coin, specially made with extra care, mirror-like surfaces, and sharp details intended for collector sets. These coins were not supposed to leave the mint with any imperfections. So when a few examples appeared without the S mint mark, it immediately signaled a major production anomaly that should not have happened under normal minting standards. What makes this even more fascinating is just how few of these coins are known to exist. Unlike common varieties where thousands or millions might show up with minor differences, the 1975 No S Roosevelt dime is extremely limited in number. Only a handful of confirmed examples have ever surfaced, and each one that appears becomes a major event in the coin collecting world. This extreme scarcity is the foundation of its massive value. When collectors examine this coin, they are not just looking at the missing mint mark, they are studying everything about it. The sharpness of the proof strike, the deep mirror fields, the contrast between frosted devices and reflective surfaces, and the overall preservation all play a role in determining its importance. Because this is a proof issue, condition is absolutely critical. Even the slightest imperfection can separate a top-tier example from one that would not reach the highest auction levels. Another important detail is authentication. Coins like this are heavily studied, verified, and certified because the value is so high that even the smallest doubt can affect market confidence. Professional grading services examine the minting characteristics under magnification to confirm that the coin is genuine and not altered in any way. Once certified, these coins become some of the most closely watched modern rarities in the entire numismatic market. The design itself may be familiar, but the story behind this coin is anything but ordinary. It represents a moment where something went wrong at one of the most controlled minting facilities in the United States, the San Francisco Mint. And that mistake was never meant to happen. Proof coins are supposed to represent perfection. Yet this coin represents a rare break in that perfection. And that is exactly why collectors value it so highly. Even though it is a modern coin from the 1970s, its status is closer to legendary rarities from much earlier eras. The combination of proof quality, missing mint mark, extreme scarcity, and confirmed auction history has pushed it into a category where only elite collectors can realistically compete. It is not something you find in circulation, not something you casually inherit, and not something that appears in bulk collections. It is a true specialist-level rarity. Now, when it comes to value, this is where the 1975 Roosevelt dime with no S mint mark becomes absolutely mind-blowing. In normal form, a 1975 proof dime has very modest value like most proof coins from that era. But the no S variety changes everything completely. Because of its extreme rarity and confirmed demand among top collectors, the strongest known examples have sold in the range of approximately $456,000 to $506,250 at major auctions. These prices reflect intense competition among advanced collectors, certified rarity status, and the historical importance of a proof coin escaping the mint without its identifying mark. This is the kind of coin that does not just sell for high numbers, it sets records and becomes a reference point every time a new example appears. What makes this coin so powerful in the collecting world is not just the price tag, but the story it tells. It is proof that even in the modern era, with advanced minting technology and strict quality control, extraordinary mistakes can still happen. And when they do, they can create some of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And just when you think a Roosevelt dime cannot possibly reach a higher level of rarity or value than this, the next coin will take things into an even more unbelievable category, where scarcity becomes almost mythical and collector demand reaches levels that most people would never expect from. Something so small. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so you don't miss the next coin that could be worth even more than what you just saw. Thanks for watching.